Welcome to Sprint 8 of the HelloDBP demo. And in this sprint, we're going to use digital event services to configure events to be routed to digital event persistence to an event store on disk, where you can build up a very large history of events for compliance purposes.
All right, Jay. So that's great that we can now have all these events. But one of the things that our pesky chief security officer from down the hallway reminded me of is that with all this new technology, we have some government regulations that mean we have to keep a very strict audit trail of all the thing activity that's going on. This is needed in case we need to be audited for whatever reason, or there's any sort of dispute. So what's going to be the easiest way for actually to keep an audit trail? And by the way, this has to be 10 years worth of data, so I'm assuming that Oracle's really just not going to hack it.
No, and unfortunately neither is Terracotta DB to have everything in memory. So when you say all, you're saying every event that happens, all the health records,
that happens. Yeah,
and we're going to sell a lot of mega things, aren't we?
Oh yeah.
We could get into gigabytes, terabytes, and then whatever's beyond
George
that.
thinks we're going to sell a whole bunch of those, and they produce so much data every day.
Okay, so Elasticsearch is really good for this, and so is Hadoop. And now that we've built this digital event services, it's really easy to say, in addition to publishing these events to universal messaging, you can also put these same events into long-term storage in Hadoop or Elasticsearch. And guess what? There's not even any coding
You're going to have to write a lot of code for that.
No, you don't have to write any code. I'm going to do the whole thing without writing any code. So let's go ahead and see. Okay. Well, let's see what we're going to do. So we're going to configure. It's not coding anything. We're going to configure DES to store events to Elasticsearch, and we're going to generate some events and prove that they got there. But I will have to write some code to pull it out if we want to view those stored events. Then we do have to have a little code there, but you get value out of doing that too. So let's go ahead and we can start the timer. Yep.
6 minutes. Buddy.
So we're going to go actually to someplace we haven't seen yet. We're going to go to Command Central, and we're in the integration server. I should start from the top.
I'll tell you what Jay's doing here. So so Command Central is the overall management console for a lot of the components in the digital business platform. And as you saw on the architecture diagram of the previous sprints, the digital event service is a sort of layer inside of inside of integration server. So in integration server, you configure direct broker and universal messaging connections, but we've in this case said pass it to the DES layer. So under here, you see that there is the event persistence. So we have a place where we can say we can have this as a target, Elasticsearch in this case, and we've also got these event types. Now, of course, we created the thing event. And this is the messaging server, so you can have any number of messaging targets, universal messaging servers, any number of event persistence. And now we can use service groups to define the routing of these things. So this is no longer done by the developer in design time. This is done by an administrator, where they can now say, okay, I'm going to create a group called HelloDBP demo. I'm going to pick universal messaging.
And for source and destination, it means
because I can publish and subscribe.
Yep.
And I can sort of say local event data store as a destination. So I'm saying that every message that gets published in this group of the event types that we're now going to select, so we select that thing event. So it means that when one of those things get published, it will go to both universal messaging and to the digital event store. So just by calling publish once.
As soon as I press that button, now every time there's an event, it goes to Elasticsearch. I'm done. And
okay. So
the next 10 years, it's all going to go there. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So let's run one.
Run one.
Let's go ahead. I think let's go ahead and
just run one.
I'm not going to create new ones because I have to delete them all later. So I'm just going to send some events through this one, like update events. So no, I can't do an update event. I have to do a new one because we can fake it by doing this one. So let's just run this guy. And the event kind is going to be updated, and the time. Oh, no, I can't do it that way. The time one will be done. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
We're going to do that one. Okay, so I forgot to do that. So we're going to say the kind is updated, the time is going to be filled in. The ID is that. We're not going to change that. And we're going to say it's updated to now the health is 100. And we're going to say go. And it didn't work because it didn't conform. So I forgot to check a box. I did, and then I have to go back. So I have to go down here, check on the events, and when it's validate when published. Now what's doing is saying
you want to be able to leave. That's
yeah,
it.
I
You
want to be
able
able
to
to
leave
yeah,
fields.
yeah. So then I have to now because I got to sync to broker, so I have to go over here. Sorry, not sync to broker, sync the doc types, and it means I have to push it to Des. So this is just something that we normally have to do. If you make changes to the event type, we have to inform digital event.
But you're familiar with that if you use broker or UNUM anyway, the sync doc type when you make a
So
change.
let's call it again, and this time it should work. Yeah, and so it's because we didn't fill in all the fields like account and name. It just said, hey, you're not sending a complete document. So I told it, don't bother checking. So now we have
great.
there, and we can do another one. So send it again.
Now, how can you show that, because you've told me that that's now reaching Elasticsearch, but how can you prove that that's getting into Elasticsearch?
So let's just make sure that we got it in the event console. So yes, it's from 90 to 100. And then there's a little viewer inside Elasticsearch that I installed, and it lets you browse the events. And this is the ones for HelloDBP demo. And there's one here, and I'm just going to click on it. It's 100, and then the one below it is 90. So those two got to Elasticsearch, and they're going to stay there forever. The 10 years.
So how can we get them out of there?
Okay.
If we don't need to query them, how can we get them out?
Yes. Well, you could. You could. Your engineers or my engineers might know Elasticsearch UI, and you could do that. But because we can do it in Hadoop or Elasticsearch, and because we want to make it easy, we're going to use the JDBC adapter because we made a JDBC driver for digital event persistence. So if we go back to Designer, I've already created a JDBC connection for this, and I'm going to use the one that I've already created. It's called Event Store Connection. So I'm going to reuse that, but I'll build the adapter service over again. And so I say new adapter service, and you can go ahead and talk in what I'm doing.
Right, so this is just a regular JDBC adapter service, just like if you were querying SQL Server or Oracle. But what you can see here is that there is that we have created a JDBC driver on top of the digital event persistence layer. So it'll query whatever you have configured behind it, whether it's Hadoop or whatever. And in this case, we can see that it's this thing event. And there we'll go, okay. And then, of course, the select, what columns are we selecting? And that should go automatically. Now, you will need to have, so I guess you'll need to have some data in there, won't you, Jay? To be able to...
already got data. It's already introspecting.
Yeah, it has, because we published a few things, yeah. Yep. But if that was completely empty, if we hadn't... sprint timer is up.
Okay, so we're almost on the demo part. So this one, we're going to pass in the ID. And now when we're done, we can just say, let's run this service, and it's going to use the JDBC interface to go pull from Elasticsearch. So let's call that, and I think in the clipboard,
92509.
I don't have it in the clipboard anymore. Yep.
Doesn't matter. 92509.
Yep. Okay. And let's say go. And this should get the two results, 100 and 90 that we already saw. And they were updated now. And that's
retrieved it from Elasticsearch. Great.
Yep. That's it.
Okay. Let's just review what we just did.
Yes. I will switch to this one. There we go.
Yep. So there we go. So now you see that orange line going from the digital event services layer and integration server. And all we needed to do there was to just change the configuration of DES using Command Central to now also emit those events, not only to universal messaging, but also to Event Store, which we had backed by Elasticsearch. Then we also used the JDBC adapter integration server to retrieve those events just to show them, make it accessible.